Hey guys, wanted to do a quick teardown video on the MCON. I got mine a couple days ago, and I had to take mine apart just to clean some contacts, and I haven't seen a video on that. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this one. This is just a quick rundown. I did a few things already. I took out 8 screws on the back, so I'll show you that. There are 8 screws that you have to take out before getting into it. For brevity's sake, I'm not showing that, but unscrew all these. You don't have to unscrew these because these are just holding the plastic controller bits. In order to unscrew these, and I believe every single screw in this thing, it's a T5H bit. It's a star bit. If I can get it to focus. I'll just Google it, T5H, but it's like a little star. You'll see the actual bit when you go to actually unscrew this, because these are always visible. And these are just tucked away behind the controller bit. Once you get those screws out, you can actually just fold this back up with no issue. Now, for the rest of the disassembly, you actually have to unclip a bunch of clips on the side. And I would recommend starting at this spot at the very end of the slide mechanism, just because it's easy to slip a nail or something like a pry tool in there. If you feel too much resistance, you almost certainly forgot a screw. So you shouldn't feel much resistance before it just straight up pops. If you feel like it's just not coming out, make sure you actually unscrew all the screws. There are 8. Don't force the plastic, because if it snaps, obviously there's no unsnapping it. Now, once you unclip all of the clips, it's literally just a disassembly. There is no hardware, like electronic hardware in the back. It's literally just for the hinge mechanism for the controller fold-out grips. All of the electronics are inside of the front end. Now, as far as further disassembly, you'll probably be interested in either replacing buttons and things like that. If you want to take out the triggers, you have to unscrew these top bits. These are actually holding in the trigger houses, and I'll go ahead and do a full disassembly just for the sake of it. But the first thing you want to do is you want to unclip these little ribbons here on the side. These lead to the ABXY buttons and the D-pad. So lift those up. This is actually stickied in place, so all you have to do is pull that out like that. And there's an adhesive on the centerpiece. You'll notice there is like this little man here. This is actually held in place by 2, I'll actually bring it up for you. It's held in place by 2 posts, so his legs are supposed to actually fit in these posts. Now, when you monkey around with this, his legs will probably come out, which is fine because it'll jostle in place. These little legs are held in place by nothing but some posts. These screw bits are all the same, so once you actually unscrew those, they'll literally come right out. So I recommend having just some tweezers for that. We're gonna start on the left side. I guess this is technically the right side, but we're gonna do that side real quick. I would recommend doing from top to bottom, just because there are some hiding screws. As you can see here, there is a little lift tab here, so you can either lift it with a nail or some tweezers. I'm gonna use tweezers because you actually have to lift it somewhat symmetrically in order to actually fully lift it out. Once it's lifted, that ribbon to what I imagine is the really entire board will just come right out. You can just literally lift it out. This is also sticky down. Yeah, so you can just pull that out. Once you've released that, you can actually unscrew this screw behind it. So I'm going to do that real quick. and you'll notice it'll probably stick to this trigger. I think there's some kind of magnetic resistance to those triggers, so don't be surprised by that. And try to keep your screws organized, obviously. I recommend whenever you take out the back plate, go ahead and take all those screws you just unscrewed and just plop them inside. You know, they only go to the back, so there's no reason not to do that, and just kind of set that aside. And then just kind of lay out your screws in a way that makes sense to you. I just keep it in a rough orientation of where it was in relation to, you know, the order of where I did it. So I just did this top one. I'm gonna do this one to the left right here. That should take out the entire trigger group. I believe that's the only thing actually holding it down. So if you have any issues with triggers, start with this one. It should take it right out. And I'm gonna do y'all a favor of not editing this too much, just because if I have any hiccups, I would like y'all to see it. Just because, you know, this stuff can happen. I will try to chapter this video so that y'all won't have to see me unscrew literally everything. Cool. So once that's out, that screw to the left, it should just release. Although you want to get the board out first so that you can actually get a clear picture, because there's a tiny ribbon here that only makes contact with the board through physical, like, boards. I'll show you what I mean by that, but there's like a physical contact. It's literally just like a bit of metal, and if you don't fully separate the board, you won't be able to, like, effectively pull it out. So I took this one out. I'm literally gonna pull this entire left side out just because I want to show you what I mean. To remember how I did this last time. So I'm gonna unscrew this screw and all of these screws. So 5 screws total remaining on the left side. Okay, that'll be to the left. I'm not actually sure if you need to take this out, so I'm gonna wait for that. You might be able to pull this out without it. Actually, I'm gonna leave that in there because I'm not sure if you actually need to unscrew the triggers or the analog sticks at all to pull out the board for the D-pad. So I'm gonna actually leave that in there for now. And something you'll notice about these screws, I'm not sure if it's on purpose, but it'll get to a point where you screw it in and it'll keep spinning. Now it's not in a way that feels destructive, but it just, you know, it continues to move. Now let's see what's holding it in. Now something that I will caution you guys on is that something that will prevent this board from lifting is that there actually is another ribbon cable connecting to it. It's this analog stick here and this tiny little rip. It's the same little lift pad as the one that I lifted up here. So I don't know if you see that, but you're literally gonna have to get like some pretty fine tweezers and on both sides just kind of lift that up. I think I did it. Oh, I did it on one side. There you go. Once you do that, try to lift the ribbon out. I think I got it. 1 sec. I think this side fell again. There we go. Should pull out completely like that. Now, once that's out, think what is keeping us here? I would assume this screw. So I'm gonna actually, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that screw there. This screw right here, the post holding this man's leg. I'm gonna go ahead and take that one out. Make sure no screws get moved. So that one, that one, that one. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew that post. I am not sure if this is holding it in, but I'm gonna go ahead and take it out just in case. And you'll be able to differentiate that one because it has a little washer on it. So just keep that to the side. And I think at this point, it should be able to just pull out like completely. Let me find out though. I think you have to like literally lift this out. So it should just pull out this little piece. That the screw is the only thing holding it in. So if you want to keep it organized, just kind of stick that screw in, set it to the side. And I think you should just be able to lift it out, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure all these ribbons are out. There is a little post here that this, if I can focus, this little post slides the whole side into this spot. So you need to lift it out of there. You need to make sure there's nothing. Actually, I think, yeah, you're supposed to peel this ribbon back. So peel this ribbon completely off because it will hold it in place if you don't. And go ahead and pull the whole mechanism out. Oh, there goes the battery. Yeah, pull the whole mechanism out. The only thing holding that battery in place, just so y'all don't worry that I did just cause damage, is this little tooth here. You just poke that through the PCB, if I can find it. There you go. So this is the entire button mechanism. Now, let me pull out this trigger group to show you what I was talking about earlier. It literally just yanks out like that. This trigger group is one moving piece with a magnet in it. So, as you can see here, these two little conductive pads, this is all that's connecting the trigger group. So you need to make sure that one, it's clean, and two, the little capacitive bit is together. I'm gonna leave that alone because mine is fine now. I cleaned it up and it's perfectly, working. That is a little battery. If you're gonna do a battery replacement, all you would need to do is move this battery out of the housing. Looks like it's a 250 milliamp hour, 251027 or 701721 battery, 3.7 volts. So just use this notation here if you need to get a new battery. I'm sure these are a dime a dozen on AliExpress or wherever you can find batteries. So I believe it's the exact same battery on the other side, but we'll see that later. So we'll set that PCB to the side, just on the battery side, just so there's no damage to anything. And at this point, if you wanted to replace buttons, this is where you do it. The buttons will literally just pull out. Now, I would caution against doing this process if you just want to reorganize the buttons that are there, just because the buttons are in fact keyed. Once you get past this membrane, I don't know if you can see that in the light, but each button has a respective key. And I'd imagine that's for quality control. So you can't just like reorganize it however you want, unfortunately. But that's one, so it doesn't spin in place, and two, so it's easy to assemble in the factory, I suppose. Now we're gonna do the right side. I'm gonna, for the most part, leave most things alone. Just because a lot of this won't fail. If the hinges fail, then I'd be surprised for this effect, but we're just gonna keep going. It should be a very similar process. So for the right side, or I suppose the left side if you look at it that way. Okay, looks fairly simple. So again, with the analog stick, what Looks like you don't have to take that out at all, like I did last time. Wish I tried that before. You just want to release this little clip. So right there. And then once that clip is released, just pull it out. If you feel too much resistance, just go at it again. There you go. So it pulls straight out. Looks like you can just leave the trigger group alone, or the, I don't know why I keep saying trigger. Looks like we can leave the analog sticks alone, so we're gonna do that. And we're just gonna pull this board out. So we're gonna start with the screws. Move this a bit more in focus. Sorry for the scuffed nature of this. I just wanted to get something out there in case someone was way too nervous to do this on their own. But you know, if you pay for something expensive, you ought to have a working product, is what I believe. Cool. So it looks like it's just these two screws here now. So this one and this one. Let's get rid of those. Now, I saw some posts saying that they don't really think that this is very right to repair, but I disagree, actually. The fact that they're using the exact same screw in every spot is very, very good, in my opinion. Makes it very easy. You don't have to keep screwing with the with my toolbox, which is always a plus. And I feel like the repair market will have a very good time with this one, just because it feels like it's so modular. And you know, if they do keep their promise on selling spare parts, it really will be drop in, drop out. So drop that in there. Same as the other side. Now, what else is holding this in here? We're gonna get rid of this screw holding the trigger house as well. Should be it. There we go. Make sure I got this. Cool. So, got that one out. So these two, this one was for the trigger, so I'm gonna stick that to the right where the trigger was. Now everything should just pull straight out. Remember that this slides into that post there. I don't know if I can get to focus. Please. Okay, I think you see it. This post right here on the side. Same as the left side. So just be able to pull it straight out. There we go. Yep, so that's that motherboard. Cool. And let's confirm our theory. If it's the same battery, I believe it is. Oh, looks like it's not showing. Well, from what I can tell, it's the exact same battery from a different manufacturer because it looks like the exact same size and PCB. I will show you so you don't think I'm crazy. Them side by side. They're the exact same battery. I'm pretty confident. I feel like these are just different manufacturers that brand their stuff differently. Or this is just the other side of that one. But yeah, they look identical. So I would imagine they're the same. But yeah, I don't think you'll have any issues if you replace them identically. So we're going to stick those PCBs to the side. And at this point, obviously, if you wanted to change out your D-pad, this is where you do it. Pull out this membrane. And it looks like the D-pad is actually sitting in the outside. So if you were to lift this, yeah. So there's a key here, obviously. If you want to actually replace this, you would, oh no, it does pull out from the back. So you just lift that straight out. Cool. That's good to know. It looks like everything is keyed, so even in this is a very low skill level type repair or disassembly, I would say. Obviously you need to know what you're doing, but don't be too afraid. There's something I didn't mention on the other side because I had taken it out before, is that there actually is some residue, like sticky residue on this side to prevent it from moving. Just go ahead and pull it straight out. It will be okay, I promise. Once you pull it out, there is this little foam cube on the side with adhesive. Don't worry about that. Like I said before on the other side, it is just some conductive pads. Where are the conductive pads? Oh, it's on this side. See, just 2 conductive pads on this side, and they literally just make contact with each other in order to communicate the trigger functions, which is super cool. That's a pretty unique way to do that. And then here is where you would change this ribbon if you need to. Looks like it literally just loops in on the inside, and these capacitive little silicon things. Looks like you would just need some tweezers to pull them through if you take them out. So literally just stick the legs in as best you can with your hands and then just grab them and then pull them through. Wouldn't be hard. Just take that out. And then all that remains now is the mechanism for the hinge and the actual release functions. So I'm not sure if I want to screw with this too much, just because this is a very mechanical thing that I don't think would fail first. But I just wanted to get through the through a lot of the electronic stuff. I'm not going to mess with the triggers just because they have their own units that you can pull out. If you were to unscrew these two, you can just pull out the sensor, and I'd imagine if you unscrew the larger group, you can pull the whole thing out. I'll unscrew this real quick just because I'm curious what it looks like underneath it. I'm glad that they did everything so modular. This is literally just the power delivery board, to my knowledge. So we'll unscrew that real quick just to see what it looks like. Got some dust from... So, let's see, is that it? Is that all it's holding it in? Yes. Looks like it. So, once you remove that, the way you would get this out, I would imagine. Is this connected actually? I'd imagine you'd have to remove the triggers first to actually effectively move this out. It looks like there's some kind of sticky, let's see. Okay, so there is a ribbon cable there. I don't know if you can see it, but you just release that and then you take that out. So I'm not gonna do that just because I don't wanna, 100% bare disassembly, but this is as far as anyone would reasonably have to get in this short time where, there's not like people trying to, sell repair services and things like that. All right, just a quick cut because I started assembling things incorrectly. So I screwed this USB-C port back in after I took it out just to look at what it was. Now obviously you need to start with the triggers first just because they sit behind the actual PCB. So I made the mistake of putting this board back first, and then I realized, oh wait, this has to be behind it. So make sure you put this first afterwards. Obviously you can't connect with the PCB if it's not inside. So make it easy for yourself. There's a little tiny hole at the end of this. You just kind of loop this through that little post here. Let me make sure that's right. So you can set it down. It makes it a lot easier. And then go ahead and just push that sticky pad back in place, and it should sit nice and flush. And that foam pad will kind of adhere again. And then you can go ahead and screw that back in. So Let's make sure we're doing this right. Should be this spot right next to the magnet. Remember, it gave us trouble. Screw that in relatively flush. Now it should be good. Now you should be good for the actual board. Now remember, the actual battery compartment is what holds this whole thing in place. The actual arm that holds this little man together is on the top, as in the little piece that sits there goes into this post. This is the spot that holds everything in its spot. And remember that this battery portion has to sit in this little tooth. So there's a little hole in the PCB. You're literally gonna use this tooth here to push it through. You might have to push the wires just a bit to the side. But once you do that, everything's good. See how this tooth is through the side? That's all you want. So you're gonna take that, move it around. And then you're gonna try to keep that tooth in while you do this. You're gonna push this to the side. This is a little awkward, but once you see that post set in, make sure that tooth is still into the PCB. And you're just gonna kind of rock it until everything sets into place. So make sure the PCB has clearance. Hold on. Let's see what's getting caught on here. Let me see. Make sure the ribbons are clear. Actually, it might be easier to just kind of slide it in underneath this magnet and push the ribbons out as you interfere with them. And then once you get to this point, yeah, that's easier. Once you get to this point, then you lift up the battery portion, the battery housing, and then kind of set it on that post and then just push down. Then the PCB will drop. And make sure you get that tooth back in there for the battery housing so it doesn't rock around. There you go. Once it's nice and doesn't rock around, that's when you know it's in there. Good. All right. Now from here, it's just 3 screws because you need to put this washer back in, the one with the washer. So this should be the long one. The longest one should be the one next to the trigger group because that one's pretty short. So this one through the battery, it should just literally drop straight in a little bit. And then I should be able to just get it right in there. Cool. And then this last screw on this side, we're gonna put back into the back. All right. Good, okay. Now we're gonna attach the ribbons again. Remember there's 2 ribbons that we took out, the D-pad and the analog. So what I recommend is I would get some needle nose, or not, I don't know what these are, whatever these are called. And I would just take the plastic tab, just kind of stick it back in place as best as you can. And then you're gonna kind of just move it in until it's flush. And once you're confident that you at least moved it in place, I like to make triple sure, you're gonna go ahead and set that latch back down. Now for these, to put them back in, it's pretty simple. You just have to make sure that this is somewhat raised. So raise up both sides again, like you're taking it out. It's really annoying because you pretty much need a tool like this, but I don't really blame them because, you know, for the sake of modularity, you kind of have to do things like this. Just kind of stick that back in there. Or don't. Hold on. This is probably the most annoying ribbon that you have to deal with. And we have to get it in there twice, so that's fun. I'd probably do it from a side angle. Ooh, that's frustrating, hold on. Let's try it from this angle maybe. If it wants to bunch on itself to not let itself in. But obviously we don't want that. I'm gonna try it with my fingers maybe. Knock my button down, oops. Put those back in. There you go. All right, let's get back to that ribbon. You need to make sure that that receiver is lifted. That way it can actually go inside and be locked afterwards. Like I said, a tool like this is ideal because you can touch both sides. There you go. All right. That was kind of a pain, but once you get it in there, you kind of just push it with your finger and it will literally collapse the entire mechanism and lock it. And once you feel, you'll feel like a push. So just make sure that happens and you'll be good. So that's the right side back together. Should be everything. I'll put in that that post for the little man again. All you're gonna do for that is, you know, make sure obviously that the post part is facing up. And I would again use your tweezers. Not having tweezers for this would be kind of miserable, I'm gonna be honest. You're gonna move the little man out of the way just because he's gonna be in the way. Looks like he got a little bit stuck there, so you can just kind of pry him out. So I would just kind of hold it by the post maybe, and then once it's sat there, it'll drop in, and then you can just screw it in like that. I know the post isn't exactly lined up right now, but that's fine. I wouldn't do it super tight because you do have to move it around a little bit. And I'm just gonna set the little man's foot in there, just to make my life easier later. There you go. I feel a little drop in. That'll make it a little easier when I have to do the same thing on the other side. Cool. So, again on the left side, gonna drop in the trigger house first. It should just drop right in. And then we're gonna make sure that that foam spot gets down again. Cool. So ideally you'd be doing that with a, like pushing this down with like a microfiber, but yeah, just go with that for now. We're gonna screw that in already actually. So remember that for this screw, for the trigger group, it's actually gonna be the shorter screw. I believe these are actually the, no they're not. It's a thicker and shorter screw. So make sure you don't use the long screw for the trigger group because that would likely rip through the other side of the controller, which you would really not like. And it's this one right next to the magnet. Just remember that, you know, when you're unscrewing it, you're probably gonna have that screw go into the magnet, so just don't forget, because that can cause you some real heartache later. Why isn't this sitting flush? Hold on. What's going on here? Let's get that out real quick because I don't know what's going on here. Actually, we'll leave it, it's fine. Oh, that's what happened. I picked up a screw on the way out. I was like, what's going on? All right, so that can happen. keep beware of that. That would definitely stop you from screwing in your stuff. I don't know if you saw that, but if you didn't, one of the magnets on the other side picked up a screw. And again, it's just spinning in place, so that's fine. Try to get that little ribbon through that hole there, right here. And it should, you know, even if the adhesive kind of is lost on that foam bit, it should be fine. All right, now for the board. Remember that that tooth goes through. There you go. Tooth went through. Let's see. So we're gonna do the same thing we did on the other side. We're just gonna kind of duck it under this magnet here. Hopefully that makes our lives a little bit easier. I'll do it from above actually. I'm just gonna make sure those ribbons don't get lost underneath. Pull that through. And yeah, that wasn't too bad. All right. Now we're actually going to start aligning this first. So the posts, remember, post on this side, we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to try to keep that tooth in there. And yeah, there you go. That went in a lot easier this time. Ooh, make sure that ribbon doesn't get caught though. Kind of pull that out if you can. There you go. Now it should sit nice and flush. A little tooth on that battery bit can easily come undone, so be careful with that. Make sure that's good. All right, I'm gonna start with that long top screw above the battery. And then we're gonna connect that ribbon that was originally adhered to the top of the battery on the left side. Ooh, I took my screw. You can magnetize like that. I'm gonna give it some help and actually guide it straight in. goodness. That is a strong magnet. Snap knows how to do it. Whoa, okay. All right, let's do that again. The nice firm grip. It needs to be at the very end because it's quite a long screw. There we go. I twirl it to the left when I don't know what I'm doing because I can't see. There you go. That one gets tight. Then I'm going to do the one at the bottom, the one without the washer. So this is the one with the washer, so not this one. Screw in that last one. Cool. Once that's in, you're good. So now we're going to reattach these ribbons. There are 3 on the left side. This top one for what I assume is power delivery because this goes straight from the USB-C board to this. So I'd imagine somehow that these share some form of power delivery because that's the only thing that comes from USB-C. So I imagine that these boards communicate somehow from this spot to get power. Make sure this is raised on both sides. And then you can kind of just sit this one in. This one should be easy. You can probably just do this one with your fingers, actually. Yeah. And I would just set it down with the tweezers, the actual locks. There you go. It should depress quite a bit when you do it. And then just kind of, I guess, massage that a little bit because there was an adhesive there before, so I guess we want to keep that nice and flush. Now this one, to put back in, it's probably going to be a little annoying. I'm just going to kind of stick it with my finger. Make sure it's even. There's actually enough support on this that you can kind of do that. Just make sure you're not putting too much pressure on this because there's nothing supporting it and it could just straight up, collapse. But honestly, this one, yeah, I would probably do this one with tweezers, to be honest. Oh my. Yes, make sure it's unlocked. Then okay, let's try that again. All right, I think I got it. Looks relatively even. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you would not want to disassemble this again, so try to get it as even as possible. Once it's in, you want to depress both sides so it has a good contact. Good. And then that last ABXY ribbon. You can see a noticeable amount of slip in there when it actually goes in, so you'll be able to just know, and then you have to flip that down again. There you go. All right, and then last thing is the little post for the man. This is actually how the, like if this isn't, fully assembled with the actual tension in the string between the legs, the actual slide mechanism won't lock. And I'll show you that. If you try to insert it, And I'm just gonna release the tension here just in case, you know, that would mess with something. I'm gonna insert it as you normally would. Oops. Make sure that's there, hold on. There you go, so it's inserted. Now if you release it, you'll see this like tape measure thing come out. It will not lock because it relies on the tension from this. So if I let it go, it will just keep going out until it locks there. So that's what that little man is for. So I'll release that again. So we're gonna install that last post and then be done with this. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm actually gonna stick that there with my finger, with the post. All right, and then I'm gonna screw that back in. So yeah, as far as I can tell, unless there's some hidden screw that believes otherwise. No, I mean, I literally see all the screws I didn't touch, and they are all the same bit. So that's cool. Very, very cool for repair people. This one is a little bit annoying to put in. Gonna have to just use barely any tension because it likes to jump, and then just twist as soon as you get some even bearing, and then it goes straight in. Cool. And I don't put these two very tight at all because I know that these arms have to actually move in order to have tension. So don't over tighten them. I don't know if, you know, that's probably what the washers are for, but I wouldn't take my chances. You kind of have to just slip these legs in at the same time. This is what I was trying to avoid earlier from having to do this, but I wanted to show you guys something earlier, so that's fine. There you go. Now, in order to keep that there and not come out, just kind of hold it and kind of shimmy that in there. There's no scientific way to do this, to my knowledge. There you go. Once it's kind of like halfway in on both sides, just kind of push it down. There you go. Now it's as though I just took it apart from the latches. And now that these posts are in place, this should be able to hold without an issue. Oh, see? So it actually relies on the resistance of the back plate to stop it from jumping. So that's a detail. So now I have to do that again. Great. Yeah, that's not too complex. I would just, you know, make sure that you do this, because if you don't, you're gonna have a very unpleasant MCON experience. There you go. Nice and flush. Now, let me get all our screws. Remember, there's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Now, in order to slide this back on, you just need to make sure that the actual power switch is lined up with the tiny switch here. There's a tiny switch here. Just make sure they line up. And you should be able to do that just by pressing it straight on. So I'm literally just gonna rotate it around so you can see. I'm literally just gonna put it flat, straight on, and then just let it drop. Make sure it's actually even. And should be able to just kind of snap in place. All those clips will come back together. few clips. And then of course you want to screw in your back screws. Again, there are 8. Just make sure they all go back in. Don't do it too tight because you never know. And of course, I would recommend before latching it back on and screwing it back together to actually pull out Gamepad Tester and make sure that everything's working. Because if it isn't, you have to redo all of what you just did. I'm pretty confident because I've done this before, trying to fix my trigger. And I tested it right after and it was fine. But if you're doing this for the first time, I'd recommend doing that just because, you know, if for whatever reason you didn't seat a ribbon correctly or something like that, you just want to make sure that you fix that. All right, all that's back together. Closes fine, opens fine. Yep, cool. And of course, turns on fine. Connect to my phone now. So yeah, works fine. I'm gonna test it on Gamepad Tester, of course, but I'm pretty confident it's gonna be fine. Yeah, that was my not so quick teardown. I'm gonna edit this a little bit just to make it a little less egregious, but yeah, appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions about this, let me know, but I feel like this is pretty straightforward. And yeah, see ya.